when people smile and greet you every day? Have you ever wondered if they might be hiding how much they dislike you? Marcus Aurelius, a Stoic philosopher, said that we are born to work together like hands and feet, but in real life, people often stand against each other as if they were strangers. In an ideal world, our relationships would be full of love and support for each other. Wars and political unrest would be far away, and links between people would make everything easier. But that's not always how things work in real life. The truth is that there are people who, for whatever reason, don't like you or feel safe around you, and you have no control over this. True friendship and love may rest on our ability to deal with and get past problems like being turned down and angry. Here are 13 undeniable signs that someone might not really like you, even if they seem friendly. Watch the whole movie to learn lessons and values that you will never find anywhere else. Let us begin. Number 1. They are indifferent to you. There are times when words don't have to be big or deep to bring two souls together in the vast universe of human relationships. Have you ever had a conversation with your best friend that went on and on about something as boring as a favorite piece of cake or the strange shapes of the stars in the sky? It's nice to know that someone is willing to share every moment, big or small, with you. On the other hand, we can pick up on signs of detachment when someone doesn't really want to connect with us when you try to start a con. Not dwelling on sadness or self-doubt is important. Instead, it's important to understand that not all relationships are smooth and open. Sometimes silence and brusque signal the need for space and time to think and reevaluate. Now is not the time to force a connection. Instead, understand and accept that everyone has their own space. Respecting that space is the first step toward a deeper connection when the time is right. This translation captures the essence of Stoicism by highlighting how important it is to be self-aware and accept one's own limitations, as well as how important it is to respect one another's boundaries as a way to build deeper relationships. This is in line with Stoic ideas about accepting what we can't change and focusing on personal growth and building real relationships. It can be depressing to think that other people don't care about you. It's normal to want to feel like the people around us notice and value us. But it's important to keep in mind that people's actions and reactions are often affected by many things, such as their own feelings, experiences, and goals. If you feel like people don't care about you, here are some things to think about. Self-reflection means to think about what you did and how you behaved. Do you have any habits or patterns that might be changing how other people see you? Making small changes to how we talk to people can sometimes have a big effect on how they react to us. To keep a friendship going, it's important to talk to each other in a clear and honest way. If you think someone doesn't care about you, you might want to tell them how you feel in a way that doesn't get physical. They might not even be aware of how what they're doing makes you feel. Try to understand what the other person is going through by putting yourself in their shoes. They might not seem interested because they are having their own problems or worries that are making them act that way. Being empathetic toward them can help you connect with them more deeply. Limits. It's important to know when sets limits in relationships are needed. If someone acts like they don't care about you, even though you try to talk to them and connect, it could mean that the connection isn't healthy or good for both of you. Focus on good connections. Instead of dwelling on people who don't seem to care about you, put your energy into building relationships with people who value and respect you just the way you are. Being around caring and helpful people can help you deal with feelings of indifference from other people. Don't forget that everyone has times when they feel ignored or unimportant. But it's important to keep things in perspective and not let your thoughts decide what you do or how you feel. Spending money on yourself and relationships that make you happy is important. Number 2, lack of trust. The act of sharing and openness in the journey that completes human relationships reveals the vulnerability that is the fundamental basis of the deep relationship between souls. This vulnerability, when allowed and responded to, creates a powerful relationship that transcends all barriers of doubt and fear. But in a world where trust becomes a value, building a product and maintaining it is not always easy. There are times when you struggle to be honest and open your heart. People around you keep your distance as if an invisible wall of suspicion and mistrust has been erected. This is especially true if you are suspicious of others and they are concerned about the quality of interactions. It is evident if you have doubts and can even judge your intentions. This is not because of a desire to cause harm, but because they are not willing to fully believe such a situation. You may feel frustrated. I'm disappointed, especially after putting so much heart and effort into building a bridge. But now it's time to appreciate the value of patience and perseverance. You can't make someone believe in you, but you can empower them by doing small but important things. Remember that building and maintaining trust in a relationship is a process, not a goal. Acceptance and understanding are the keys to unlocking doors that seem impossible at first glance. By remaining honest and open, you not only show that you are brave and strong, but you can also gradually break down the wall of doubt and build a real, lasting relationship. This interpretation uses Stoic thought to emphasize the importance of accepting what you do not understand, and faith will develop naturally over time. This is consistent with the Stoics' emphasis on inner virtue. Staying strong despite external challenges and building important relationships through honesty and perseverance. Lack of trust can be a big problem in personal relationships, at work, and even in the way society is set up. Here is a list of some things that are connected to this issue. Relationships with people. Relationships that are good are built on trust. When people don't trust each other, it can lead to mistrust, fear, and fights. This lack of trust can be caused by betrayals in the past, problems communicating, or having different beliefs. Professional settings. Trust is very important for working together, getting things done, and being happy with your job. When workers don't trust their bosses or co-workers, it can make it harder for them to work together, come up with new ideas, and help the company as a whole succeed. This lack of trust could be caused by micromanagement, lying, or not being open about how decisions are made. Structures of society. Trust is important for society to work well. For social stability and cohesion, people need to believe their government, the courts, and their neighbors. When people lose faith in these organizations because of wrongdoing, corruption, or societal differences, it can cause chaos, division, and the breakdown of social order. Rebuilding trust. It takes time, work, and consistent acts to rebuild trust. All sides must be honest, take responsibility, and be open about what they're doing. Clear communication, having clear expectations, and showing that you can be trusted can help rebuild trust in many situations. Having a lack of trust can also have an effect on someone's mental health, causing worry, stress, and a sense of being alone. When someone is lied to or betrayed over and over again, it can hurt their faith in themselves and others, making it hard to make real bonds or take smart risks. When people don't trust each other, they need to be able to talk about it, show understanding, and be willing to understand why it's happening. Rebuilding trust is possible, but everyone needs to be committed to it. This can be done through therapy, mediation, or true apologies and actions. Number 3. Expressed through body language. In the colorful world of people, body language, communication language, acts like soft tones that form a symphony of relationships. Every sign is visible, and the space between two people is not just a vague conversation, but a quiet voice speaks of deep feelings, music, as love and care develop while sharing understanding. We naturally want to hide the distance where our eyes meet and place ourselves in the position of our feet, our limbs weakening as an invitation into our own world. But just like the moon always keeps the dark side, people work together to hide the shadow of rejection and distance when someone feels uncomfortable or rejected, high and firmly protecting the eyes. The body language of the defensive fortress with closed gates seems to say, "I don't want to see you people with their arms crossed and stepping back like shields, sending the clear message to keep your distance." Music. This is definitely a basic defense that people use to protect. We can say to protect themselves against negative consequences. This not only indicates the need for personal space, but also wariness or distrust of others. But these signals can sometimes arise from misunderstandings or short-term emotions that remain important, signals that we must pay things to consider in the context of learning, knowing and understanding the world around us. The meaning behind body language is the first step to approaching and resolving cracks in relationships, how to truly approach a life full of challenges and planning, a way to connect and learn to read and understand these silent expressions not only helps us avoid inappropriate pain, but also teaches us how to express our feelings openly and sincerely. Body language includes movements, stance, facial expressions, and gestures that show how someone feels, what they want, and how they are thinking. It's a strong way to show how you feel and what you think without using words. Here are some popular types of body language and how to read them. Expressions on the face. When you smile, it means you're happy, friendly, or in agreement. If you frown, it means you're sad, unhappy, or disagree with something. Raise your eyebrows to show that you're surprised or skeptical. Crowded eyes shows anger or doubt. Eye contact shows that you are interested, sure of yourself, or paying attention. Hand signs. Nodding means you agree, understand, or want to encourage someone. Shaking. The head means you don't agree, believe, or approve of something. The thumbs up signifies agreement, approval, or support. A thumbs down means you don't agree with something or like it. Pointing shows focus, direction, or attention. How you stand. Open stance, like standing with your arms outstretched, shows that you are willing to listen, are confident, or are open. Closed stance, like crossing your arms or legs, shows that you are defensive, uncomfortable, or not interested. Leaning forward shows that you are interested, involved, or paying attention. If you lean backward, it means you're calm, bored, or skeptical. Slouching is a sign of being tired, bored, or lacking energy. Goings on. Hand gestures can be used to stress points, make things clearer, or show excitement. Fidgeting. This behavior can show that you are worried, anxious, or impatient. Finger or foot tapping can be a sign of impatience, boredom, or worried energy. Mirroring is when you unconsciously copy someone else's facial emotions or body language to show that you understand or relate to them. Shifting weight. This can mean that you are uncomfortable, unsure, or ready to move. Understanding body language can help you communicate better, get along with others better, and figure out how they're feeling and what they want. But it's important to keep in mind that culture differences and individual differences can make it hard to read body language correctly. Number 4. Communicate forcefully. Imagine navigating the complicated maze of social relationships where one of the most interesting things to observe is how people show how they feel without saying a word. Specifically, when dealing with someone less liked, Reactions can range from overt actions that make dissatisfaction clear to more subtle, elusive expressions. Some people choose to make their dislike known by criticizing or insulting someone directly, while for others, their dislike is hidden behind a mask of social norms and expected behavior. With their stiff smiles and carefully chosen words, they try to keep up a front of harmony and avoid any possible conflict. But behind this front of civility lies a heart full of bad thoughts and sometimes anger, as shown by their passive-aggressive behavior. A cold look, an unintentional compliment, or even an important pause can be a way for them to show they don't like something without directly saying it. It's not important to point out every little sign of dissatisfaction. What's important is to understand that every interaction, good or bad, hides a deeper message about the relationship between us and the other person. Figuring out how to read these behaviors not only keeps us out of trouble, but it also helps us understand and maybe even heal the relationship's unspoken wounds. Forceful communication can be useful sometimes, but it's important to be smart about when you use it and treat others with respect. Here are some important things to remember when you need to be direct. Message clarity. Make sure your message is short and easy to understand. Do not be unclear or ambiguous in what you say. Be clear and straight about your point if you want to get your point across. Confidence. When you're talking strongly, confidence is very important. Your tone of voice, body language, and choice of words should show that you are sure of what you're saying. Being sure of yourself can help you get people's attention and get your point across more clearly. Being assertive, not aggressive. Being assertive and being aggressive are not the same thing. Being assertive means standing up for your rights and being polite when you say what you think and feel. Being pushy, on the other hand, means being hostile and threatening. When you talk to someone, be firm without being hostile or angry. Active listening. To communicate effectively, you need to both say what you want to say and listen to what others have to say. Listen to what other people are saying. Show that you understand and show that you respect what they have to say. Take into account their points of view before putting forward your own. Pick your battles. You don't always need to be mean to get your point across. You should be smart about which fights you join and only use forceful speech when you have to. You should only use it when you need to make your point, protect your rights, or talk about important things. Keep your cool under pressure. It's easy to let your feelings get the best of you and talk badly when things get tough. However, staying calm is important for good conversation, even when things get tough. Take a moment to gather your thoughts before you answer strongly. Give proof and reasoning. Back up what you say with facts, proof, and reasoning. This gives your points more weight and makes your communication stronger. Using strong evidence to back up what you say can help people understand your point of view and improve your position. Respect others' limits. It's important to be direct when you talk to someone, but it's also important to respect their feelings and limits. Do not be too bossy or rude to others when they have something to say. Even if you don't agree with someone, treat them with respect and honor. Put yourself in the other person's shoes when you talk to them and try to see things from their point of view. Being empathetic can help you change the way you talk to people so that it is more respectful and successful. Look for win-win answers. Whenever you can, try to find answers that are good for everyone. Instead of only focusing on what's best for yourself, look for ways to find common ground and come to deals that work for everyone. Remember that being strong isn't the only way to communicate well. It's about getting your point across clearly, politely, and convincingly while also being open to other people's points of view. To become good at forceful conversation, you need to practice, know yourself, and be willing to keep getting better. Number 5. Impatient with you. Every step we take, everything we do, and sometimes even our thoughts are shaped by the relationships around us. In every relationship, patience and kindness are like invisible threads that hold us together and help us get through problems and disagreements. But when we're with someone who doesn't really like us, those threads can easily snap, revealing a painful truth. Harmony isn't always possible, as shown by the endless fights and disagreements that don't have a basis in facts. Every word and action you take seems to make them disappointed and angry, and even when things seem calm, your presence can turn their mood from sunny to stormy. You find yourself in a world where anger and dissatisfaction are normal, and bitterness and resentment are the language of the day. But if you look deeper, this situation has a deeper meaning. It might be a chance to ask ourselves if we are doing something that makes the other person uncomfortable, or if we and they just can't agree on some things. Not only does constant unexplained disappointment show that two people are not compatible, but it also serves as a reminder of how important it is to respect each other and know when to take a step back to allow for personal growth and reflection. Sometimes growing apart is not a sign of failure, but of maturity and understanding of oneself and the other person in life. Not all relationships are easy or smooth, but through challenges and problems, we learn the value of patience and compassion and the ability to forgive. More importantly, we learn how to love ourselves by setting boundaries and protecting our hearts from unnecessary harm. Number 6. Incomplete listening. Truly listening is an art that not everyone masters. When our souls are drawn to someone, we give them our full attention, trying to understand and feel every word and story they have to share. However, in some relationships, you may find that you are only listened to with half a heart by a mind that is distracted, making your words seem to echo in the void. This lack of care is clear when the other person doesn't respond to your words. What this means is that they aren't invested in you or the relationship between you two. Feeling half-heard or abandoned and unvalued can become haunting. More importantly, this is the time to question your self-worth and the role of this relationship in your life. Sometimes getting out of unhealthy relationships where you aren't valued is the first step toward finding and building real relationships. Choose those who can give you a symphony, not just a few notes. People often think of listening as a passive skill, but it's actually an active and complicated process that needs focus, attention, and understanding. People often don't fully listen in our busy world because there are so many distractions and people's attention spans are getting shorter. When we don't fully connect with the speaker or understand their whole message, we're not listening completely. This can cause misunderstandings, relationships to get tense, and chances to connect and grow to be lost. Important points: multitasking and being distracted. There are many things that can distract you in this modern age. With phones buzzing with alerts and social media updates coming at you all the time, it's easy to lose focus during talks. People often think of multitasking as a way to get more done, but it can actually make it harder to listen. Taking care of several things at once makes it more likely that we will miss important details in talks. What are assumptions and prejudgments? We all have biases and ideas we already believe that can cloud our judgment and change how we understand what we read. People can listen insufficiently when they guess what someone is going to say or let their biases affect how they understand what they are saying. Cutting someone off and responding quickly. Sometimes we jump in on a chat before the other person is done talking because we want to add something to it. When you respond quickly without fully getting what the other person is saying, it can lead to misunderstandings and frustration for everyone. Not being able to feel and understand. Listening with empathy means being open to seeing things from the other person's point of view. even if we don't agree with them. It's common for people to listen insufficiently when they don't understand or relate to the speaker's message. How to get better at listening. Focus on the person talking, make eye contact, and show that you're interested through your words and body language. This is called active listening. Do not interrupt. Wait until the other person is done talking before adding your own thoughts. Put off the judgment. Keep an open mind and don't judge or make assumptions until you fully understand what the person is saying. Asking additional questions. If you're not sure about something, don't be afraid to ask for help. This shows that you want to understand the speaker's point of view. Think about what you've heard. Think about what the speaker said for a moment before you answer. This shows that you really heard and thought about their point of view. There is a widespread problem called incomplete listening that can make it hard to communicate and hurt relationships. By being aware of the common mistakes people make when they don't listen fully and working to improve their listening skills, we can make deeper connections, better understand others, and have more meaningful interactions in our personal and business lives. Number 7. They always avoid you. Consensus within a wide network of relationships that seek and maintain human relationships through important work to lay the foundations of personal and social development consensus. But success in this process does not always reach us, especially when we meet people who are not in this process secret, even accepting a sign. Suddenly it belittles the fact that we are there to prevent rejection from being expressed through simple but obvious actions. May not live or work far from you, but surprisingly all as direct communication methods are limited to cold email or text messaging. Texters seem to do their best to keep their distance, even going so far as to become familiar with your schedule, to avoid being scheduled during a lunch or break where both have to share the same space in case of an accident. There are excuses to avoid meetings, as if they are always out to keep you away. This reflects not only their problems, but also a deep desire to connect on a meaningful level, knows and accepts that not everyone finds relief or joy in your presence, self-discovery and growth. It is part of the journey, especially gives us the opportunity to reflect on the value and importance of the relationships we want to develop in this area. Intimacy is not a good thing, but some part of life becomes more important than ever. Number 8. Ignore you from meetings. When we hear the symphony of life, each of us wants to be a part of the dance party where friendship and friendship are remembered. But for some, this year you want to be a distant dream, reminding of a simple but deep reminder. Deep pain in human relations is not. An invitation to important work is knowing that someone is deliberately isolated when you see all the people around you. You are friends working in the family, being accepted into the circle of happiness. Being alone, feeling alone, and being gradually abandoned requires the wisdom of this great truth, because it is advisable to accept this and are unmistakable signs that we are not valued in the eyes of others. Situations like this not only make us doubt ourselves in the eyes of others, but also encourage us to think about whether we really want to be in a group where our existence is not appreciated. Sometimes being left behind is not only rejected, but it also reminds us that we must seek new relationships where we are, find our place in this social world. You are welcomed and loved. Remember that your value is not determined by the number of invitations you receive, but it is determined by the happiness and real relationships you choose to cultivate. Life is too short to live in the shadow of isolation. Find the light in friendship that makes you feel loved too. Number 9. They don't want to understand you. In the search for connection and mutual understanding, being understood is not just a desire. It's the solid foundation of all long-lasting relationships. However, when faced with the canvas of dislike and arrangement, the dream of understanding and acceptance can become a lonely journey, an endless internal battle. One of the clearest signs of this is when someone doesn't try to understand you or value the ideas and principles you hold dear. Our fight isn't just for attention, it's also to keep believing in ourselves. It's important to remember that even though the loneliness of this battle can be hard, our real strength lies in understanding and loving ourselves. Being sure of our worth and importance shines a light through the darkness of misunderstanding, opening the door to real, deep relationships, where understanding is no longer necessary, not clear. Have you ever felt like the other person didn't want to understand what you were saying, no matter how hard you tried? As annoying as it is, a lot of us will go through it at some point in our lives. These things happen for a reason, and this lesson will teach you how to handle them well. How to read the signs. It's clear that someone doesn't want to understand you sometimes. They might talk over you all the time, ignore your points without giving them any thought, or just refuse to have a real conversation. There are times when it's less obvious. Their body language or answers show that they aren't really interested or understanding, even if they nod or agree on the surface. Getting to know the reasons. We all have views, biases, and preconceptions that can affect how well we make decisions and how well we can understand other points of view. Fear can also be a big part of it. Some people might be afraid that knowing your point of view will make them question their own beliefs or force them to change, so they might avoid hearing your point of view. Communication problems like language hurdles, misunderstandings based on culture, or differences in how people think can also make it hard to understand. Ways of dealing. Remember to stay calm. Getting angry or annoyed will only make things worse and make it harder to talk to each other clearly. Active listening is important. Showing that you're listening can sometimes get the other person to do the same, even if they aren't doing it back. Show understanding. In the event that you don't agree with someone, try to see things from their point of view and respect them. Keep trying and being patient. Don't give up too quickly. It might take some time for the other person to change their mind or for things to get better. If the problem doesn't seem to be solved, you might want to try mediation or bringing in a neutral third party. Be able to let go. There are times when it's clear that the other person doesn't want to understand you, no matter how hard you try. It's important to know when to step back in these situations. Getting into fights that don't lead anywhere or trying to make someone understand you can be exhausting and pointless in the end. Focus on spending time with people who are willing to listen and have productive conversations. Finding out that someone doesn't want to understand you can be frustrating, but it's important to remember that you have no power over how they see or react to you. You can handle these kinds of situations with grace and strength if you know how to read the signs, figure out why they're happening, and use good coping techniques. Finding people who value understanding and kindness can help you have more satisfying and enriching relationships in the long run. Number 10. Your intuition tells you. There are moments in all human life when we are at the crossroads of choice and decision, when we do not know whether to go forward or backward, and when the weak voice of insight turns into a compass showing our way, and sometimes into the light of light. Thought is not bright enough to dispel the darkness of doubt and fear, keeps us lost in the sea of thoughts and emotions. The beginning is an integral part of human nature, is the connection between the mind and the soul, where understanding is beyond thought and knowledge. When the heart and mind are in conflict, we are often the only one that can be our life raft. The inner voice reminds us of what is right and what is wrong, but fear and doubt can cloud even our true judgments, making our intuition vague and uncertain. It convinces you that something is missing inside you. Maybe it's time to feel like you can trust our soul without hesitation. Life is truly too short for futile attempts to change your mind. It's time to appreciate real relationships with those who love and understand you, from those who can't accept or understand you. We're topless and left behind on the journey to happiness, and that just means we can't bear to carry the heavy things. Spiritual insight is not the voice of one person. Sometimes we find ourselves for the things that matter, is the voice of liberation that reminds us to repeat. Number 11. They do not share their world. Sharing is seen as a sign of friendship and trust, while keeping your distance and not opening up can be a clear sign of detachment. When someone cares about you, they'll gladly share their joys, sorrows, and new discoveries with you, making you feel like you're a part of their unique world. On the other hand, someone who doesn't like you might create a buffer zone, a private space you're never invited to enter, where they carefully keep their thoughts and plans secret. In today's world, where everything is connected, sharing ideas, experiences, and views is important for building empathy and understanding. But not everyone is comfortable letting other people into their life. This lesson tries to teach students to understand and accept other points of view by looking into the reasons behind this behavior. The goal is to figure out why some people don't like to let other people into their lives, to help people understand and value different points of view, to encourage people to be open-minded and learn how to talk to each other about differences, how to understand the phenomenon effects on culture and society. Sharing and being open may be valued differently in different countries and societies. Some cultures value privacy and individuality more than telling other people about personal events. People may or may not be ready to share their world, depending on societal norms and expectations. Experiences from the past and trauma. People can become guarded after having bad situations in the past, like being betrayed or judged. As a way to protect themselves, people who have been through traumatic events may pull away and not share their inner lives with others. Fear of being judged and turned down. People may not share their thoughts and feelings because they are afraid of being misread, judged, or rejected. People may hide parts of who they are or what they've been through because they want to fit in and be accepted by others. Traits and temperament of a person. People who are generally shy may want to keep their thoughts and feelings to themselves. Personality traits like shyness or low self-esteem can also make someone not want to share their world. Building respect and empathy. Listening with intent. Help people learn how to listen actively so they can understand others without judging or interrupting them. Make it safe for them to talk by validating their thoughts and feelings. Honesty, respect and understanding will help you build trust. Show that you can be trusted and that you will keep things private to convince people that their world is safe with you. Learn to feel empathy. Put yourself in someone else's shoes to see things from their point of view. Accept that their thoughts and feelings are real, even if they are different from yours. To understand why some people don't share their lives with others easily, you need to have understanding, respect, and an open mind. We can make society more accepting and understanding by understanding how culture, past events, and behavior affect people. We can understand different points of view and connect with others more deeply by actively listening, building trust, showing understanding, and talking freely. Number 12. Meaningful silence. Silence can speak 1,000 words in human relationships. Silence is often considered a void to be filled by communication and sharing. But if someone really doesn't like you, their silence is not or deliberate. It is a conscious choice. It is a way to keep you away from safety in a place that should not be open-aired, or sharing this silence does not harm your feeling of loneliness, but it also reinforces the feeling that your existence is worthless or necessary. Meaningful quiet is when there is no sound or speech on purpose, and the lack of sound or speech itself has important meaning or communication. It's a way of communicating without words that can often say more about feelings, thoughts, and goals than words alone. Here are some situations in which silence can mean something. Respectful silence is used to show respect for the person or people being remembered or honored. It can happen during times of remembrance. Reflective silence. People can use silence to give themselves time and room to think about their feelings, experiences, and thoughts. Hearing. Silence. This is when someone stays quiet to really hear and understand what someone else is saying. This kind of silence shows that you understand and are listening. Shared. Silence. When two people are alone together in silence, it can help them connect or understand each other better without words. Silence for contemplation. You can use silence to think about bigger questions about life, existence, or faith. Conflict resolution. Silence. When people are fighting, a moment of silence can help everyone calm down and think before they talk again. Active silence. Being quiet can be a way to be assertive, especially when someone doesn't want to answer questions or complaints. Expressive. Silence. Silence can be used to build tension, stress a point, or make you feel something in art, writing, or music. In the end, important silence is about what the person is trying to say and where they are when they are silent. A lot can be said about it without saying a word. Number 13. They never mention a future with you. One of the clearest signs that someone doesn't really like you is if they don't include you in any of their plans or hopes for the future. If you're not in their grand vision for their life, they don't want to connect with you and don't see you as a friend on the long journey ahead. When someone cares about you, they talk excitedly about their dreams and plans and even invite you to be a part of them. Knowing how to spot the signs that a relationship isn't going where you want it to go is what "they never mention a future with you" is all about. Here are some things you might want to think about. Lack of long-term planning. If your partner doesn't want to talk about plans for the future that involve you, like trips, big events, or even small ones, it could mean that they don't see you as an important part of their long-term future. Hazy responses. If you ask them about the future and they give you hazy answers or change the subject, it could mean they don't want to make plans with you in the future. Not interested in making plans together. If your partner wants to have a future with you, they will easily talk about your shared plans, goals, and aspirations. If they constantly act like they don't want to talk about these things, that could be a red flag. Prioritizing individuality. It's healthy for both people in a relationship to keep their own identities separate. But if your partner always puts their own plans and goals ahead of yours, without thinking about you, it could mean they don't see you as an important part of their future. When you try to talk about the future with your partner and they avoid, sidestep, or feel uncomfortable, it could mean that they are not ready or willing to commit to a future with you. Inconsistent behavior. If your partner sends you mixed messages like talking about the future with you and avoiding the subject altogether, it can be hard to figure out where the relationship is going. Pay attention to your gut. Sometimes you may have a feeling that your partner isn't fully committed to a future with you. You can handle the situation better if you trust your gut and pay attention to these minor signs. As we wrap up our look at the 13 obvious signs someone might not really like you, it's important to remember that understanding people and relationships is a journey of many steps. Every sign we've talked about, from not trying to understand you to avoiding you at all costs, shows that you need to learn more about yourself and how important it is to make real bonds with other people. Realizing that someone might not value or respect you can be upsetting, but it also gives you the chance to grow as a person and find people who really do value and respect you as you go through these sometimes painful revelations. Remember that the key to our happiness and fulfillment is not in everyone else's approval, but in the relationships we choose to invest in. It's about finding those few people who truly understand us, who see and accept us for who we are, and with whom we can share the journey of life in its purest form right now. I want to hear from you all. Have any of these signs ever been present in a relationship? How did you deal with realizing that the other person might not be as interested in you as you thought? More importantly, how did that experience change the way you look at future relationships? Let's start a conversation in the comments below by sharing your stories, thoughts, and maybe even how you've moved on from such situations. Someone going through the same problems could learn from what you've been through. Always keep in mind that every thread in the web of human relationships has its place, and every event, no matter how painful, adds to the mosaic of our lives. Don't forget to like, share, and follow for more videos that dig deeper into relationships and personal growth. Your participation helps us build a community of understanding and support. Let's use wisdom and kindness to find our way through the complicated world of connections. Thanks for watching, and see you in next video.